remember having to hide away like in the middle of the night, or like we'd have to leave the house to kind of run away from him. Hi, my name is Mickey Taylor. I am a singer, actress, mattress, and I am here with It's Gone Viral to talk about mental health.
Let's dive straight in and let's go way back. What was going on for you?
Historically, nothing ever good. Nothing ever joyous, like going, if I was to go like way back, like at the origins of before this was kind of created, I guess, in myself, like I guess I'm created through the negativity and the trauma. Like all of this comes from pain, trauma, a lot of joy too. It's not all doom and gloom, but I think that I learn best from mistakes and from the bad things and the good things.
So what would you say was the most amount of trauma that you experienced that created the wonderful you that is now?
It's tricky because I can think of like 2 or 3 things that instantly like stick out, but they're all to do with pain inflicted on me by others, if that makes sense. The 3 that I think of, like aggressive exes, abusive family dynamics, it's all other people that are struggling in their own mindset, and then they're using like their pain as a weapon on me, if that makes sense. And I am essentially their punch bag emotionally, if that makes sense. And obviously where they've never dealt with their trauma properly, I was the first thing. I think we attack the people we love the most as well. So I think we hurt the people we love the most, and I think I was just that for a lot of people. But then through that, rather than become the victimizer through my own trauma, I decided to kind of turn it into positive energy rather than negative, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. So you said there at the beginning of your answer that you had other people in your life that obviously had negativity in their lives, and you've obviously been on that journey to understand that. Can you take me back to that time and what was happening for you, and how old were you?
I think the first like inkling of trauma creeping into life was family divorce, but it was a very aggressive divorce. It was very violent, and I remember having to hide away like in the middle of the night, or like we'd have to leave the house to kind of run away from him. He was a very aggressive man. He was a bit of a criminal too. I remember a lot of that when I was younger, and trying never to tell him where we were moving to or going, and having to rush out of school early and things. I think that was like the first inkling that shit was gonna be bad for a while. And I remember instantly putting it into art. Like I remember sketch pads were always like my bubble that I created for myself. Like once I was sat there drawing, I remember drawing a picture of Buddha when I was younger, and like someone was like, "That's actually really good," and I was like, "Oh, I actually have like something I can release into. Then I'll keep going."
Looking back at that time in your life, is there anything you would change about it?
No, I actually would never change anything that has ever happened to me or that I've ever done. I've been to rehab, I've been arrested, I've like been beaten within an inch of my life, I've had someone try and kidnap me from my own home, and I wouldn't change none of it, because without one part of that, I'm not me. Trauma is trauma, but tragedy plus time equals comedy. So I have always just like looked at it all, and now I can talk about it as like a joke and a humor, and I learned something from each of it, and I became stronger through it. Like sometimes I had to double over some scars, but it was worth it.
How did that come about you being diagnosed, for other people to understand what you were feeling at that time?
It was a very weird time. I was 16, I want to say. My mum was a care worker who was having to forcibly like retire early, as well as suffering from personality disorder, bipolar herself. And I was a young little queen trying to figure out his identity in a house full of 3 women, like one with PTSD and one like trying to figure out her own diagnosis while leaving her work. So there was a lot of anger. That's when my kind of snaps began to happen in my head and I began to spiral and lose control. And then rather than find help for me, my mother threw me out in the middle of the street and made me homeless. So like, I never got a chance to address my bipolar for about another 2 years when I finally saw medication. So it was never like, this is what I mean, like I've never really had the chance to talk about my feelings and assess them or handle them. And I think that's why I put it all into creative mediums.
So when you were talking there, you used the word snap.
Yes.
What happened when snap happened?
I was heavily addicted to alcohol. And I remember I was having a very turbulent relationship, not a bad one, but like it was at the end of its like course. And it was like a coping mechanism. And then I remember I had a lot of suicidal behavior for a while. And I didn't know who to reach out to or what to do or what to say. So I think that was the snap for me. And then I remember just trying to speak to doctors for about 1.5 years, trying to find the right bloody medication, which never happened. They'd either make me sick or like rapid weight loss or rapid weight gain or nausea and shakes and everything. So the snap was pretty rough for about 1 year and the feelings didn't go away anytime soon in that time.
How did you cope with that at the time?
I was also a musical theatre student at this point as well. So I mean, I had then discovered my love for music again, because I'd always like sung around the house with mum and I did the odd play as a kid and stuff and I always enjoyed them. And I was part of a dance troupe at one point too, but I think, yeah, I just used college and theatre and singing my little queer heart out, I guess.
We were chatting earlier about your love of learning. Do you think when you were at musical theatre, was that a shift for you in how you channeled how you were feeling?
No, I'd say the shift in learning happened for me about 6 years ago. I remember essentially like looking back at college, thinking I dropped out of college the first time, dropped out of college the second time. I'm doing nothing with my life besides shooting porn once a month. Like, I should really try and learn something or do something. And then there was an interview I did with someone and they were like, what did you do before like you were a hooker? And I was like, oh, like I did musical theatre a little bit and I loved that. They were like, you should like go into singing or give it a go. And I was like, I don't know. And then I remember putting out a Lana Del Rey cover on YouTube for like shits and giggles. And then it got a really nice response. And then I realized that if people like what I'm doing, then I'll carry on doing it because I can find something that I thoroughly enjoy out of it myself and use that as my coping mechanism. If it then helps other people with their coping, amazing. Because I mean, music is therapy for me. It always has been, always will be. Even before I was a singer, like I would sit there for hours and hours and just listen to like my favorite bands as a kid and like headphones in, couldn't reach me, come back in 3 hours, you know what I mean? Like I think music is a really good healer and a really good source of relativity for people's characteristics and feelings. So yeah, I think the big learning skill switch happened when like people encouraged me to go into music and then I was like, what else can I do? So I just kept trying things.
I'm listening to you talk and obviously there's been so much that's happened in your life and you've mentioned another area in this conversation now and you talked about the porn industry. How did that happen?
Very well documented. Essentially, I was a model in Essex at the time, and it's a mediocre success because I really wasn't that keen on it. Like the body dysmorphia you would get, my God. I was managing a nightclub at the time and someone messaged me on Grindr was like, I direct porn, you'd be great at it. And I was like, go fuck yourself, no way. And then about 3 months of him asking and asking and asking. I remember I was kind of in contact with my mum at this point, trying to like repair the bridge. She basically said to me like, if you don't do it, you're an idiot. She was just like, you are only gonna look young and pretty for so long and you're only gonna have this opportunity to do it now. You've got your entire life to have a career. Just go and have fun. And if you don't like it, you did one, you just don't do another one. And I just fell in love with it.
For somebody that is in that place now, what advice would you give to somebody that was feeling that way?
Don't hide from that little like nagging shadow in the corner. Like sometimes you've got to put a light on it and see what is there, and you've got to kind of like figure out what is in the corner and kind of address it. And if you don't, like, the only way I can describe it is you are a plank of wood on the ocean and someone keeps dropping metal on top of you, coin by coin, and eventually you're gonna sink. So it's just like, don't let the coins build up, like, because once you sink, you're gone. And it's very hard to like try and pull you back out of the water. You're not alone. Like, no one is ever truly lonely. We only become lonely when we retreat into our own like psyche, where the loneliness truly comes from. And if you do feel lonely, then there are so many ways to kind of change that for yourself.
If you've been affected by anything that you've heard in this series, there are people that you can talk to. See the top comment for the relevant organisations that you can reach out to.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Kevin Hart.
Hi, my name's Eric Stonestreet.
Hi, I'm Margot. I'm Journey.
I'm James McAvoy.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe.
I'm Rebel Wilson.
I'm Jeremy Clarkson.
I'm going to be translating some Scottish tweets for It's Gone Viral.
On It's Gone Viral.
Ooh, on It's Gone Viral.